Thanks for tuning in to Will Fix It Team. All right, guys, I want to show you a few things here we're doing today. This is a 2011 Honda Accord. This is a driver's side front wheel bearing we're going to be replacing. Figure I'd run through some scenarios of what's going on. Let me flip. So there's what we're at. We're on this driver's side of this vehicle, and what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pull the brake caliper bracket and brake caliper off, and I'm going to do this as an assembly. Most of the time that goes well. I'll just take the 17mm bolts off that are behind here, and then I'll use a piece of baling wire and I'll hang it up by this coil spring right here so it's not dangling by the hose. Of course, removing the bracket from your spindle arm, and then what we'll do then is we'll get that laid over, and then we've got to get these Phillips screws out. And I'm going to show you something I do that makes this really easily done without breaking your bit or stripping the screw. And then, but before I do any of that, I prefer to go ahead and just break this nut loose. I want to break this nut loose for the very first step because, just for good measure. I mean, because the impact then goes, so you're wrapping on the back of the axle here. And so when you have this rotor and these brake pads making a little bit of contact, it tends to dampen a lot of the effort that it takes to break this nut loose on the back side of your CV axle and the bell that holds the ball bearings in. Whether it's probably wouldn't damage it, but if you're here, just do it in that step. Especially if you're doing this in like somewhere in the yard, you'd have to put a pry bar or something here. You may even want to have somebody hold the brake just so that you don't twist and twist and twist against something. And so we'll get this nut broke loose, we'll get this bracket and caliper off, hang this thing up here, get these two Phillips screws out, get the rotor off out of the way, and then we'll be right back. I'm going to show you how to get these screws out. On these Honda Accords or Civics or anything that has a retaining screw that holds the brake rotor on, I'm going to show you an easy, quick way to get these things off without breaking anything. Watch this. Hit these things like this a couple of good times. Drive in the bit. Any impact, screws come right out. Today's quick tip. Thank you very much. So let me walk you through a scenario here, what we're going to do. So I've got this nut off here, and I made sure that this would push in. If you're going to have to hit this with a hammer, you would want a nice, good, solid punch. I took an old half-inch drive extension that I had, and it was broken, so I just ground the end sort of round so it would go in a dot here. I didn't have to do that in this case, but that gave me plenty of length. I can hold it with vice grips and not hit my hand. But you want to actually have that nut on there to keep from it maybe swelling out if you even hit it right here. So that way you can get that big nut back on. And then, of course, oil, lubricate something in there. And I got these out first, too, because everything is just, this is good. I worked my way in. So what we're going to do next, before I remove the brake caliper, to make it easy on me, I'm going to go ahead. I've got to get this whole thing out that holds the wheel bearing in so I can put it in the press once I go or get it out. And a few things that we've got here. We've got a speed sensor wire. I want to unplug it up here and get it out of its little bracket. And I want to be real nice to that little bracket. I want that to be usable again when I put it back. So I want to be real careful. Unplug it here, and then it's held in like that. So you got to release it. And I want you to just be really careful. Or if this option number 2, I would call this. The reason why is because most of the time, if you can, take this thing out right down over here. Take the 10mm bolt out and take this speed sensor out and either unsnap out of this or take this bolt out here and hang it all up. And the reason why sometimes you can't get this out, rust will have that speed sensor stuck in that hole. You have to go that route, but maybe not this case. I take this screw out or this bolt, and I'm gonna see if it'll come out. And then I'm going to take this off right here, and I'm going to go ahead and knock this loose, because then I can spin this thing in out of, and I kind of cheated. I've got some wire tied up. I can tie this over, and then I can get to the bolts that hold the caliper bracket on super, super easy. And then this is going to slide off. I'll show you. I think this one's going to come out. Well, too much issue. Yes, we got that to come out. Good deal. We're just going to lay that back over here out of the way. It'll stay. Thank you. Then I've got to get this cotter key out. Let's see how quick I can do that. This needs to come out anyway, so we'll get that out. Got one down here at the bottom on this tie rod end. I'm going to show you a trick for this. See, I'm not going to use a pickle fork. Those are good if you don't have to worry about saving the boot on the tie rod end. But I want to save the boot on the tie rod end. So I'm getting that cotter key out. Same thing on the bottom. Let's go ahead and knock all these out. Get them out of the way. My tool of choice is a good set of dikes. All right, or side cutters, whatever you want to call it. Now, next item, God forbid, got the I do believe this is a 19. Grab it right quick. Grab a couple of, doing it in real time, guys. Here we go. Throw some stuff down here. See what we'll come up with. All right. Then I want to thread this nut back onto my tie rod end, because if I accidentally miss with the hammer, I'll hit the nut, not the threads of my tie rod end. 2 hits like that there, we've got it ready to roll. Now, I've already fixed up a piece of wire hanging off of the control arm now, which actually held my light for me, thank you. Now I can get behind here with my 17 millimeter Shalom here. Whole bracket and all just comes off. Saves you from having the extra step of pulling it apart twice. I'm gonna probably knock my light off and stick this wire through at the same time if I'm allowed to. Sometimes things don't always, especially in real time. Ooh, there we go. I want to go through this little hole. Just sort of tie this thing on up like that right there. Usually this is a little more graceful, but we're kind of rushing a bit today. I have an issue with the CV axle here, and I may call the customer and see if they want me to go ahead and replace that. But for right now, we're going to get the, let me show you what I got here. I'm noticing right here that the boot is kind of giving out, and I'm already going to be in this side. So I'm going to call the customer real quick and see if they want me to go ahead and get that put in while I've got this thing apart. And I will, but we're going to just go ahead and get this thing all tore down right quick though. But let me do the movie magic. Oh, one pause for the cause. I have to call the customer. Yep. And so let me do that. You won't even know I'm gone. Oh, good news. I got the go-ahead to put the axle in. And I explained to her that at this point it would be a whole lot cheaper because it's a super nice lady. I've been working on her cars for years. And it's a lot less labor because I'll be like in there already with it already taken mostly apart. I just have to drop a few other little extra pieces and get it out. And I guess we'll, I may put this all together as one. But anyways, back to what we're doing over here. Thank you for sticking around. I really appreciate everybody supporting this channel because it helps. It helps a lot. You have no idea. And it's a great honor to be having a wonderful people watching. Let's see here. So we're going to get this lower ball joint nut loose. And the same scenario plays. We're going to leave the nut on it once we give it the old taparoo. We're just going to tap it right in. Let's see here. And what I'm doing is, you know, pretty much same thing with the hammer, except for I just got to be careful not to whack the backing plate, beat it all the crap. So I've got to get myself in sort of a precarious angle. So let's see here. Please excuse me. I can go in from this side here. Down here out of there. that right there. Bye. And then, like I say, this can come off. It's not gonna hurt anything. Now, same thing at the tippy top, except I think. Let's see. This is my little mini 3/8 impact. 380 foot-pounds, I think is what this thing does. Oh, it's awesome. All right, and it's cheap. It's not even an expensive one. You get these things cheap. Always thread that nut back on there because that'll save you. I promise you. You miss and whack them threads or those threads. There it is. Now, let's go ahead and get this thing out of here. Got that off. Got that off. Yeah, I got a hump back. They like when the customers ride by and honk the horn instead of stick the middle finger out. That's always a good sign, isn't it? At this point, we don't have to be like the super as careful as with the axle because I'm going to be changing it, but just for good measure, we'll try our best to. There we go. Look at that there. We got that off. Okay, so now we got to get it in the vise over there, and we're going to drive the spindle out and go ahead and get. Oh, and you need to watch the rest of this video because there is a really specific way to put the wheel bearing in. If you don't put it in that way, your ABS light's going to be on and you'll have another mess on your hands. So stick with me for a second. All right, so we're back. And let me show you what I'm fixing to do now. We've got to get this inner hub knocked out. So let me get my thing here. Okay. So this is my thing. It's my camera. We're gonna hit right here around this part here. On the inside, I gotta knock that out, and I'm gonna use. I used an old Spider Gear shaft. This is what that is, out of a differential. Works really well. It's a big, nice, happy, fun punch. Cheap too. I replace these inner hubs. I get the whole set because when you hit this with a hammer or any kind of like device to drive this out, which you're gonna have to do, you distort this inner hub. It kind of swells the end a little bit and it actually kind of squashes it down, which can push out on the inner race and also make you squeeze down too tight on the new bearing, which can cause premature failure. So as cheap as the whole kit is, just put the whole kit in there. The bearing, the little hub thing, and the new like snap ring that goes in there. And you can get this off of eBay or Amazon, but this is a really big honking set of snap ring pliers and really handy when it comes to dealing with those huge snap rings to keep from messing them up. So let's do it live. Let's knock this piece out. Let's see how it does on camera. We're gonna have this is a good idea to put your safety glasses on because you're hitting stuff that's metal and it can fracture. And when it fractures, there is no telling which way it's gonna go. You don't want it going into your nice, beautiful, pearly eyes. Okay, here we go. Moving from side to side. Hope they don't hit my hand. Then we're going to go like this. Knock this mess out. And then to keep me from tripping over all the little balls, I'm gonna take and catch all the little, and plus they're fun to give the kids. They can play with them after you wipe the grease off. Do away with the stuff that's in here, get it out of the way. I don't want my balls to hit the floor. Fair enough. That fair enough. Now, I'll show you where the snap ring goes. Sometimes you have to break these snap rings loose. Let's see how loose it is. All right. All right. So come on out of there. Now, since we've got the new snap ring, you want to be careful. This sucker's loaded. It'll go fling and hit you in the face. So put it down on the ground when you release it. You don't want to get it in the face. Okay. Next item up for bid. This thing's going to come out that way. So here we go. Let me show you a little something. this is the next. I don't know if everybody does this, but it works so easy for me. Okay, you got access to this stuff. Just where it's at. Move the cord out the way. Like I'm gonna cut a slot right in the race, but not all the way through. I don't have to go all the way through. All I gotta do is just cut a little bit of a slot of it. The heat brings the bearing in. Watch this. Bada bing, bada boom. And I didn't cut all the way through the bearing race. I just cut the middle part of it a little bit out and let the bearings heat just kind of bring it together. Of course, we're gonna use our nose, our blow nozzle and clean this out. So, and then now the next step will be to, once I get this cleaned out, I'll make sure there's no burrs in there. While this thing is kind of hot, it's handy. This is good. We're going to put a little bit of grease in there. I'm going to wipe a fingerprint of grease in there. And then I'm going to use this race that I just knocked out as the part that I use in the press because it'll fit the outside diameter bearing and press it right down in there. Stick around. Okay, so this is the part that I wanted to show you guys. And this will probably save you a headache from heck. Headache from heck. I'm just full of dad jokes. All right. Notice this bearing has a seal on one side. You see that? Now, if you'll look, you can actually see that there is a difference from one side to the other. And this one, thank goodness, it's labeled. It even says it right here. It says ABS sensor side. I don't know if you can see the writing there, but it's got a little bit of writing and it's hard to make out because of my really super high dollar camera that I'm using. It's top of the line, guys. That needs to go in the direction of the sensor that you removed. Let's get this thing around the right way. You know, you pulled it out of that hole, that sensor is going to read off of this magnetic strip here. And if you've got this thing spun around the wrong way, ABS light's going to be on. It's going to be all messed up. You got to start all back over again. So don't goof on that. So we're going to just set this down. This is still sort of warm from where I can sort of touch it. The hub hang, so it's warm, but it's not so hot that it's going to mess the new bearing up. You don't want it that hot, but I'm going to put this in this way here. And, maybe just do a little, I've got a punch here that's brass, and we're just going to, however you decide to do that, we want this thing to start straight, so let me get that thing kind of, we don't want to, I'm not hitting the magnetic strip, I'm just kind of, just want this thing to go, that looks straight, so we'll go ahead and get it in the press over there real quick. Okay, so we're at the press now, and I'm feeling a little depressed. I've got a plethora of old bearing races that I've used over the time. You can probably look down here and see they're all on the floor here. I know it's dark because it's raining and the floors get soaking wet if I open the doors. I'm leaving them closed right now. I'm going to find something that can go on this outside circumference all the way around the outside of that ring. That's going to be where I'm going to start with. So just got to dig around. This is where, like I say, some of this stuff can be do it yourself if you got access to a lot of different stuff. Okay, so that'll work right there. That'll get me started, and then I'm going to finish it off with this right here. And the reason being is, let me see if I can make this work. Whenever you push the new spindle into this front hub, you can accidentally push the inner race out. The race, there's two sections of this bearing. You'll see when you get one. It's got two races that there. And if I just were to put something completely out here and press it the rest of the way home, I'm going to push that inner race out. And so I found me a big old 3/4 inch drive socket that's got a nice flat end on it that'll actually sit on the inner race and allow me to go ahead and press it right on home. And the reason why I'm doing it with the other race first is because I want this thing sitting up as high as possible so that I can clear this other part on my press. And we'll move on. So let me go ahead and get her all set up. All right, let's see how this goes here. We're going to start off just pressing the bearing down just to get it down inside of there a little bit. And we're not gonna, I can press this all the way home. I don't have to worry about the inner race coming out. I've got a big flat piece of thick metal across the whole top of the bearing. It'll be fine. We're going to push it most of the way home like this. This way I don't have to keep moving my pedestal up and down. Pushing it down like that there. Take the race that I used to knock the bearing out, the old bearing race, because I know it'll fit down in there. Lay my big piece of metal back across the top of it. Crank it back down. We've got to get this to bottom out. I'm going to show you something that you want to do to ensure the bearing gets bottomed out all the way around. Put some pressure on it. I have a gauge. I can watch it come up. Then I'll take a hammer and sort of just tap on this. And tap around. Not so hard that you break anything, but you can actually watch the needle go down. That thing is settling home. We want that to be done like that. All right. Now we've got to get our snap ring put in. Snap ring goes in just in reverse procedure, so I won't walk us through that, but I'm going to put it back in my vise over there and get the snap ring in. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this spindle pushed in, spindle hub. So I got a little bit of cranking to do here, but I'm just going to get it started. Then I'm going to put my Dumaflocker underneath there. That keeps me from pushing the inner race completely through. You don't want to do that. It'll mess the bearing all up. All right. This thing's got to go straight, so I got to make sure we get her straight. There we go. I think. Now that's just started. I've got to get something on the other side of that so it doesn't booger it all up. I'll push the inside of the race out. So let me reset again. Okay, I got something on the other side of the inner race now, that socket I shown you. I'm just going to go on. Oh, by the way, I wiped a little grease on the spindle. I'm going to went in with it. Now watch my needle come on up. And then we're just going to tap around a little bit. Not breaking anything, just giving a nice little tap-a-roo to make sure it's seated in good. Now, there is an actual torque specification for that wheel bearing once I put it all the way through. But now we have our wheel bearing installed. And it's ready to go back together. And it's pretty much the reverse procedure of what I've done here. Let me get myself back here. So I hope that helped you put in the do your wheel bearing. I hope that helps you out. Hope you can do this on your own if it save you a few bucks. It's a do-it-yourself job, probably skill level 7.576235, something like that right in there. But if you can watch this video and it can help you be able to pull that off, I greatly appreciate your support. And please hit the like, subscribe, and share all this stuff because we do different content. We do hot rods and have a good time with everything. Three-wheelers. So if you enjoy stuff like that, just hang out with us and you'll get to see all kind of fun stuff that my family and I get into. Thank you again. Lots of love, and I'm out.